皆さん、こんにちは。秋次克真選手とヴィンセント・アストロラミオ選手の試合が11月9日にプロボックス TV で配信されました。試合では2ラウンドに1度、4ラウンドに2度、さらに6ラウンドにもう一度ボディでダウンを奪います。迎えた7ラウンドにはボディストレートで5度目のダウンを奪ってレフェリーが試合をストップ。見事 TKO 勝ちを収めました。私はこの試合のことも秋次選手のことも知りませんでしたが、試合を見てとてもいい選手だと感じました。アンチの種類も多彩で、強弱のつけ方もうまく、打ち終わりにサイドへ回り込むフットワークも見事でした。遠い距離でも近い距離でも、アストロラミオ選手よりも優位に立っていました。彼がどんな選手なのか気になり、SNS を調べてみたところ、インスタグラムのプロフィール欄に自身について書かれた Yahoo ニュースの記事のリンクを見つけました。それによると、秋次選手は和歌山県出身で、7歳の頃に地元のジムでボクシングを始め、井岡一翔選手の母校でもあるボクシング強豪校、興国高校に進学します。しかし、当時の環境に満足できなかった秋次選手は高校を中退し、2014年9月、16歳でアメリカへ渡りました。渡米後は、名トレーナーのフレディ・ローチ氏が設立したワイルドカードジムで練習を重ね、2018年にプロデビューを果たしたとあります。彼のような選手がもっと注目されれば、日本のボクサーたちのキャリアの歩み方にも変化が生まれるかもしれませんね。また、彼のプロフィールで気になったのが、国籍がアメリカとなっている点です。インスタグラムの8月の投稿には、永住権を取得したと書かれており、市民権を得るには、さらに数年かかるため、おそらくプロライセンスをアメリカで取得していることや、彼の主な居住地がアメリカであることから、ボックスレック等ではそのように表記されているのだと思われます。いずれにせよ、これからも注目していきたい選手です。そして今回は、リングマガジンが行ったジェシー・ロドリゲス選手へのインタビューの中から、井上選手と中谷選手について語った部分と、主にメキシコのサッカーを取り上げるメキシコの YouTube 番組 TJ スポーツが投稿したルイス・ネリ選手のキルギスでの試合後インタビューを翻訳してお届けします。
So you heard me say, pound for pound, the different kind of guys, and you're one of them, but the top three guys are generally seen as Bud Crawford, and then either Usyk and the Monster or vice versa, something like that, those three guys. And then people mention Bivol and they mention you. And I think there's really a pretty broad consensus in boxing about that. What do you think you have to do to prove that you belong in that uppermost echelon with Bud and Usyk and the Monster, or do you think you've done that already?
Honestly, no. Humbly enough, I'm able to say I feel like I'm placed correctly on the pound for pound list, but come November 22nd, if I'm able to go out there and perform how I have been against a fighter like Martinez, that's definitely going to put me up there with the Usyk, Crawfords, and the Monster.
Bam, what's up, Jam? What I'm interested the most in is you come across ahead of your time. You're 25 years old, but your style remind me of Salvador Sanchez with your punch selection. Your pressure remind me of Julio Cesar Chavez. Your angles remind me of the great Ricardo Lopez. Coming up, it sounds funny saying that coming up and you're only 25 years old, but who do you study in any of those names that I just named? Are any of them on your list of like film study? And if not, who are the ones that you study?
To be honest with you, I don't really study boxing at this point. But when I was coming up, I would study a lot of Lomachenko and Nonito Donaire. So definitely got my angles and footwork inspiration from Lomachenko.
ロドリゲス選手がロマチェンコ氏の動きを参考にしていることは、彼のフットワークを見ればよくわかります。そして、ドネア選手といえば、公開練習の際に、当時12歳だったロドリゲス選手をリングに招き入れ、彼のパンチを受けた映像が話題を呼びました。
If you beat Martinez next month, are you done at junior bantamweight? And if you are, is that just because you did everything you need to do there and now it's time to look up? Or do you feel like your body is growing and you could move up? What's the story?
Honestly, I would like to go undisputed at 115. Say I do get past Martinez, there's only one belt left, and That's as close as I've ever been in my career to being undisputed. So I would love to go out there and get that last belt.
Yeah, and Bam, you've already beat some great fighters, especially Juan Francisco Estrada, first ballot Hall of Famer in my mind. But you look at the two big names out there, right, outside of yourself in the smaller weight classes. You have both from Japan, Junto Nakatani, and of course Naoya Inoue. And now you have Nakatani going to 122 for his next fight. So they're getting a little bit farther away from you. Do we see you fight either of those two guys, you think, before it's all said and done?
Yeah, I believe so. My next fight was supposed to be Nakatani. Things were already in the works. So, that just goes to show that I'm willing to fight whoever, whenever. But obviously things didn't go that way. So here I am fighting Martinez. But those two fights are definitely two fights that I do want to get in my career.
この中谷選手との試合については、ジェシー・ロドリゲス vs プメレレカフ戦後の会見で語られていました。
Recently, news came out that Nakatani turned down a fight with you. Going up to 118 whenever you're ready for it, is that something that you're still interested in chasing, or are you just going to take who's there?
I'm just focused on November, to be honest.
Eddie, my question is for you. Remy with Cigar Talk. Were you aware that Bam's fight would be announced? I actually saw you when I was out there in New York as well. Were you aware the fight would be announced then?
Yeah, we were. I mean, like the night. I mean, Turkey's got a way of moving very quickly, and when he offered us the fight with Nakatani at first, actually, he said like he wants to know that evening, not in 3 or 4 days. And unfortunately, it means we got to make the call to Robert. Robert's in camp with Bam, and it's like. Normally, the answer from a trainer or a manager would be, yeah, we're up for that fight, but let's leave it till 2 weeks' time. But you have to give them an answer now. And they accepted the fight with Nakatani. Nakatani chose not to take the fight. Then they came back with Puma Martinez. And obviously, this is all going on. Robert's got to speak to Bam, but Bam's just focused on the fight. So we agreed the fight with Puma Martinez. Then they said, we're going to do a press conference in New York 8 days before his fight. Fly him in. It was like, no. So it's difficult to manage it all, but obviously it's a great opportunity. So your job as the manager and the promoter is to, prepare the path. And we've done that brilliantly together for his, for all his 8 or 9 championship fights now. So this is a massive opportunity for him to be on that ring card in Saudi Arabia. It's, Robert's been out there a couple of times now. It's a huge card. And, hopefully leads to what we all want, which is a big San Antonio homecoming for undisputed in 2026, but one fight at a time.
Can I bring something up about Nakatani? I talked to Nakatani's manager and trainer, and I don't, this is the first time I'm hearing that they rejected the fight. They were okay with the fight. I think I got a text message from Mr. Honda telling me he did not want that fight. So I don't want to say that Nakatani rejected the fight because, actually on Monday we're going to have lunch with him and his team because, we're very good friends. So I don't want to say that Nakatani rejected the fight. I think it was more Mr. Honda not wanting them to fight, just like Chocolatito Gonzalez and Bam. He kind of doesn't want those type of fights with his fighters fighting each other. So, unless I'm wrong, but that.
そして、ロバート・ガルシア氏の息子であるピータ氏もこのように話していました。
The guys that are, I believe it was Ish Hinson, the guy that works with Turkey, that reached out to my dad with Matchroom and these guys, like talking about, are you guys interested in Bam being on our November card? And we said yes. And then they came back like the next day right away, okay, like with opponents and stuff. And we're like, oh shit, like, he's like, Turkey wants to set up the card. They want to announce it. Well, they didn't tell us they wanted to announce it. He just said, we want to set up the card. We want to make sure everybody's on board and this and that. And the first name they brought up was Junto Nakatani. They're like, if it's Bam versus Junto, we might do it in December on the Inoue card. Are you guys okay with that? And so my dad told him, okay, give me like a day. And then he sat. Bam sat, was getting his hands wrapped. My dad sat right there. All of us, the whole team, we sat there, and he said, they offered us a fight with Junto Nakatani, X amount of money, whatever. Is that something you want to do, Bam? Whatever. Obviously we have this fight coming up, but if everything goes good, is that something you want to do? And Bam said yes. Bam was like, yeah, I'll do it. And my dad's like, all right, cool. And then he reached out, back and told them, yeah, we're in. If it's December, November, whatever it is, we're in. And they said, okay, cool. And then we didn't hear from them for like a day or, a day and a half. And then Mr. Honda calls my dad and he tells him, Robert, I heard you guys got offered a fight against Junto. Are you guys serious? Like, you guys are really interested in that? And my dad said, yeah, we already agreed, and he said, the only way I would allow it is if it's a lot of money. He's like, and then he gave my dad and my dad told him, what do you think is like a lot of money for both guys? And he's like, I think if Bam fights him, it should be this amount. And he said an amount, and my dad was like, well, that's what they offered. That's what he's going to get. And he said, okay, cool. Let's do it then. And then my dad hung up. I think a couple hours went by the end of the day. This was probably in the morning. So 5, 6 p.m. My dad gets a text message from where he says, you know what, Robert, I thought about it, and I don't think it's a good idea right now. We'll wait. We'll do it, later on down the line. My dad said, okay, that's fine. And then I guess he reached out to Ish and Matchroom and all these guys and told them. So then they came back the very next day. Okay, what about Puma? And then obviously Bam said yes to Junto.
Right. I know there were talks, and I know that you were willing to go to 118, but now that they're both at 122, and maybe we even see Inoue go to 126 next year. There's been talk of that. What weight do you think these fights are going to take place at?
Honestly, I'm not too sure. I never, thought about that. I always imagined me and Inoue at 122 or Nakatani at 118, but like you said, Nakatani, he moved up, so it's really hard to say. But there's a lot of time. I'm still young and got a lot to go, so there's no rush.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if Inoue beats Nakatani if they fight? That's a great fight. Yeah. But there is something about, and I ask fighters, and you and I haven't had a chance to talk before one of your fights, Bam. But I usually ask fighters in your position, when the dust settles, real recognize real, game recognize game. When the dust settles, who do you think is going to be standing? And everyone in boxing, respect to Nakatani and some others, but they see you and they see the monster. And it just looks different. Yes. You two look like different kinds of animals than everybody else. And that's really what super fights and eras are about. The dust settles, two guys are left standing. When you survey the landscape, is the monster that guy for you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people have been mentioning that fight even before I became who I am today. So I know when that fight does happen, it's going to be huge for the sport of boxing.
Coméntanos cómo te sentiste arriba del ring después de 9 meses de inactividad.
Bien, me sentí estaba tranquilo, sé el trabajo que hice. Como tú dices, ya son 9 meses de inactividad lo que tenía. Realmente estaba trabajando con mucha tranquilidad la pelea, no me quise ir a fondo. En el segundo round que lo deposité en la lona, me la llevé tranquila, no me quise aborazar. Se complicó en el round 8, hubo un corte, lo cual detuvo el combate. El médico no me permitió ya seguir la pelea y nos fuimos a las tarjetas, lo cual pues evidentemente había ganado yo. Pero pues contentos de regresar y pues vamos a estar próximamente otra vez arriba, o sea que vamos a estar más activos.
De tu rival, ¿qué tal estaba la pegada? Coméntanos un poquito más de...
No era un peleador pegador, no era un peleador tanto de peligro, por lo cual me dio un poco de agüite el hecho del corte porque ni siquiera fue un peleador de gran nivel, pero pues tenía lo suyo, ¿no? Ningún rival es pequeño, realmente fue un rival para desentumirme porque tenía 9 meses en reposo, pero bueno, pues ya vieron lo que sucedió, salió la victoria, pero... todo bien.
Digo, previo a este combate, pues hubo un viaje a Japón y luego la llegada aquí a Kirguistán. Los viajes, los trayectos.
Fue un viaje muy pesado, fueron 13 horas de Los Ángeles a Japón, de Japón a Corea, otras 8 horas de Corea a Kirguistán, cambios de horario. Es pesado, ¿no? Es pesado viajar a un lugar hasta el otro lado del mundo cuando vienes a pelear porque tienes que venir en pesos, vas en el avión sin comer, vas ahora sí que te vas cuidando, ¿no? Para pasar el primer compromiso que es la báscula, pero lo hicimos con disciplina, nos disciplinamos bien, no tuvimos ningún problema en la báscula, ahora sí que hicimos bien el trabajo, desde Tijuana veníamos preparados. Y pues aquí está el resultado, ¿no?
Muy bien, ya por último, pues prácticamente te tocó estrenar esta arena en Brisket. ¿Qué te pareció? Y el trato aquí con los Kameda Promotions.
No, la verdad, muy, muy agradecido con ellos. Fue un gran trato el que nos dieron, nos trataron muy bien, muy bien hospedados. La arena tiene muy buena producción, la verdad,
No tengo nada que decirles, solamente agradecerles por el apoyo y vamos a seguir para adelante.
Hola, mi chava, no, pues un gusto, igualmente, y así como lo dices, pues entusiasmado y con un compromiso grande de venir aquí a México, de estar en México con mi gente y muy contento también de volver y de seguir demostrando que tengo muchas ganas de ser alguien en el boxeo y de poner mi nombre en alto.
Oye,